happy with the loss streak that they're on, and now they're against T1. So, you know, generally coming into these matches, you have to have an air of like, okay, we're not expected to win. There's no pressure. But I'm not sure that Guangdong Freaks feel like that right now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. CVMAX has been notoriously frustrated with his players' performances over the years. And, you know, you're 2-10 here. You're a high-profile coach at CVMAX now, and you're expecting more. And I think these players have more to show. And I disagree somewhat with him. As I mentioned earlier, I think the improvement has been there, but it's not to the level he wants thus far. As we will see a Karma ban here actually on blue side becoming more popular, so some of these prio picks for the bottom 2v2 taken away, all of them really now, with Karma, Varus, and Caitlyn. Lucian is removed here too, so we might be going down a little bit of a handshake route here.
Yeah, the only thing is that T1 is the one team that you never know when they're just going to play like Jhin Kalista. They do love their Lucian, but it's banned this time. So, you know, the Zeri does get picked up, and we're probably going to have to see something a bit out of left field here for T1.
Could be a Sivir draft. You know, that was the handshake I was referring to, but it doesn't have to be. Could be something like an Aphelios pick here with Nautilus. We've seen Nautilus so strong into the Zeri. They're not going to prioritize AD carry right now. Would rather get this Jace flex pick here, which is so incredibly strong. Hasn't changed anything on this patch.
That's the other thing about T1 is that you don't have to pick your AD carries this early on if there's something really strange, right? They are not the highest priority for every other team in the LCK.
I was jokingly talking with the casters about this with the Aurelion Sol pick. This is a pick that's very weak for T1's playstyle because they often win so early that the Aurelion Sol would never really be able to get to his full power. But if you're drafting like this and you've opted into a Zeri and scaling AD carry matchup, that's certainly where you're going to have the most opportunities to get value out of a pick like Aurelion Sol. And as the Space mentioned, I also don't think we'll see it today. To be totally honest with you guys at home, I'm sorry, but I don't think we'll see it. But hey, anything is possible in a series like this. It will be the Lulu into Oner's Lee Sin. He has an undefeated 6-0 win rate on this pick. As I guess we're just doing hovers now.
I mean, I was reading Faker's lips, and I swear that he said, yeah, I want to play it. But, you know, maybe it's just me hoping for it as well. As Bulldog's certainly thinking about it, I don't think this is something you can pick this early on and blind pick it.
I think it's extremely risky to blind pick Aurelion Sol. His weaknesses are his lack of escapes, you know, his ability to be one-shot very quickly, as he can take damage even while he's traveling. So very difficult to execute, as Sejuani will be picked up here, so we're going down that same path here for Guangdong Freaks. They've got their jungle and their bot duo on lock. T1, on the other hand, keeping a lot hidden here, and something like a Nautilus pick right now wouldn't really reveal that much about their draft, but they'll take another flex, the Gragas here. So the Gragas Jace, you just don't know where either of these are going, so even though T1 have picked solo lanes, they actually still have counter pick, essentially, here on red side.
I mean,
crazy.
Keria can play Gragas, no doubt. We know that he can play Lee Sin as well, so that makes that even more interesting. But again, as you mentioned, you know, these could all be flexed just amongst the top three as well, the top three roles. As now, actually, some supports will be taken away here. The Nautilus.
The Nautilus was the one I thought T1 might grab because I think they want it in this draft against Zeri, regardless of what AD carry they're going to play. But since they prioritize this flex of the Gragas Jace, they will lose that opportunity to play it. Thresh, I don't think we'll see as a ban here. Might see a targeted ban on something like the Aphelios here or a Draven, I think would be a pretty safe bet. You also could ban Kalista right now and feel pretty good about that because Gragas could also be flexed to support in this particular case, and we know how well T1 can play a various amount of Kalista lanes. So if I was going to ban, I'd be thinking about Draven, I'd be thinking about Kalista here. You've already taken away the Nautilus. The worst support you could face is the Zeri lane. And it is just going to be Aphelios, could be Aphelios. Thresh going back to an older era.
Yeah, Aphelios hasn't seen a lot of success so far, but, you know, it is Guma. So we'll see how it goes from there. This is going to be his first game of Aphelios this season.
Oh, Bulldog, man, he is really teasing it. And against the Gragas, you'd feel pretty okay about that lane. Against the Jace, you're feeling a lot worse about playing Aurelion Sol. It's just so hard to pick this up when the threat of Jace Lee Sin is so prevalent. And we'll see the Renekton come through here very late. And honestly here with the Victor in mid, I think both options for T1 pretty viable here. Much more standard to have the Jace play around topside in a matchup like this with the Gragas facing the Victor. But you don't necessarily have to because the threat of the Sejuani playing around top.
Hey!
And yeah, this is the hype moment because you know this is a strong 2v2 for Keria. It's buffed on this patch, the Q build that was being mentioned by Chronicler earlier. So it just feels like we've gone back in time a little bit here, and Keria plays this iconic Thresh. We have the Aphelios here for Guma. He's a great Aphelios player.
One of the first games where I realized that Keria was to be goated in the future was actually his Pyke. First of all, we were all like, wow, okay, his mechanics are 10 out of 10, actually. But then with the moment where it kind of sealed the deal in everybody's mind was when he started playing Thresh. And we were like, oh, okay, he's actually just the best. And that was like 2-3 years ago. So now he's playing it here in 2023. And it's a super iconic pick for Keria for the reasons I just mentioned. And finally it's back in the meta, so he gets to play it again.
This draft for T1 is in some ways like the most boring standard draft you could have in a meta like this, but it feels new because you're having the Thresh come back here. But the way in which they did it, by grabbing 2 soul lanes, which are then flexible, knowing that it's hardest to ban this team's bottom 2v2, actually gave them a red side strength we haven't even seen that much before, where they're like, oh yeah, normally if you lock in soul lanes on red side, it's a terrible idea because you don't have counter pick anymore, you don't have that flexibility, and the bottom meta is usually limited. T1 are like, we are the bot meta. What we do is what others follow. Yeah. And I'll give you the Zeri first. We'll take these 2 soul lanes and then bring up, Aphelios Thresh. Boring, old school, but it's Keria on the Thresh. Beautiful drafting once again.
Absolutely. And Faker back on the mid Gragas. Let's see how it all goes down as we hop on the rift for game number 1. All right, here we go. And yeah, that's what we were talking about, you know. T1 can basically play anything in the bot lane, so they just get to prioritize top of the map picks in the draft, which is not something that any other team is allowed to do, basically. Other teams have tried. It's like had middling success, but yeah, it's really impressive when you can do this in a draft, and it's a very important point, so I really just wanted to hammer that home.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a T1 exclusive right now. I don't think you would trust D+, for example, with these 2 picks the same way. Because Zeus can play both the Gragas into the Renekton and the Jace into it. You know, you see the Bulldog Victor, and you're like, all right, well, we're playing Gragas mid, right? We want to get that, stacked up the rod early, do a damage build for this Gragas where he has a lot of extra utility. And in this draft against the Zeri, I don't think we necessarily see Gore Drinker this time for Zeus because, yeah, you can deal with the Renekton and the Sejuani. They're kind of up in your face, and you can have some extra survivability that way, but the extra damage you have plus the engage that Faker is going to give you, you have a Lee Sin. I like the Eclipse build here. I think both are fine, but we'll see what Zeus ends up doing. He's got to be so respectful of Keria's Thresh, the best Thresh player in the LCK.
Yeah, that's... That's why it's such a big deal.
And that's putting it lightly, I would say.
Yeah,
like, I feel like that wasn't
far away of everybody else.
That wasn't very polite of me to say, was it? I would just say he's the best Thresh player.
I think it's okay.
Doesn't tell the real story, you know, and I'm a big story guy here at the LCK.
It is, it's a pretty straightforward way to put it. We did have the call first for Guma. And it's crazy that here on 13.4 as well, that Kwangdong on blue side felt it was necessary to go for Caitlyn, Karma, and Varus bans.
And then T1 just don't pick it till the last rotation.
And that's the thing. That's why it's so strong, because then you just give Oner's best champ, which is Lee Sin. He's only played it twice, by the way. 2-0. Lee Sin is 6-0 currently in the LCK. Yeah. But Zeus is best champ on the Jace, too. And apparently Faker's, he's back here on the Gragas. Now, enough about this. Let's see this gank from Young Jay. Zeus does read it early, but is going to have to flash away. Still a bit of damage in due to not really in flash range himself, as the Q just going to, A little bit close there to Youngjae, but not going to land.
Not quite going to stick. As you can see, the 6-0 I was mentioning earlier for Lee Sin in total. And Oner going to get scouted here by this ward. He knows it, but still wants to hover here and keep the pressure on. And with the call start for Guma, he's just going to play weak side down on the bottom side of the map and not really care. So Oner can just do this. And this is what I was talking about earlier. You know, one of the reasons we could have maybe seen the Jace mid instead of the Gragas is because there is some pressure here for Youngjae on this Sejuani, you know, with the Renekton top. But see if they actually are going to pull this off.
They have no idea. Zeus, no flash, going to knock the Renekton away, but Dudu has flash. Zeus is just dead. No way for him to get out. And they totally get around T1's vision. A very nice play as Ingo's Oner going to miss the Q as now he's got a flash away. As down in the bottom lane, I guess June might just die here as the Gravitum hits. And now Taeyeon is trying to trade it back. Keria trying to get in front of these Qs, and the play is there! Double kill for Guma in the bottom lane.
Incredible play from Keria there. Doesn't even need to flash for it. Positioning so good. 23 and 9, again, not really even telling the story of how impressive this Thresh player is. Good play as well. And that's a kill bottom side here too. In fact, for Gumayusi, you lose your control of the top lane just because there's a momentary lack of vision. It's a great play from Youngjae here over the wall. And Zeus is just caught a little bit off guard by this. He also checked the vision moments before, knowing that Oner was there, didn't see him ward. And so I felt pretty good. And even if you're seen here, you still push the Jace away. But as soon as this happens topside, this is when Keria presses Q and goes in, right? Because he knows that Sejuani's not coming back top. They actually have so much power here with this Ignite. And if you get the hook off, you're going to be able to make this work. And then Keria trades places here with Guma to block those Qs, as you pointed out. 2 kills for the Aphelios. He's already built a BF sword.
Oh, boy.
And it's not feeling great here on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, getting 2 kills with a call is basically like you are slingshotting yourself to the moon. As an AD carry player especially, is Faker going to stop the back? Very nice, especially with the lane in the place that it is. But yeah, it is a massive boon for T1's bottom side here, as Oner's just going to get started here on the Mountain Drake. There are a lot of shenanigans up in the top lane, and Youngjae's going to continue with this. I mean, might as well.
He still has flash.
Uh-oh.
Oh, good scene.
Dudu should have blocked that, I guess.
Yeah, good angle there from Zeus, though. Is able to check both brushes that way. Also has that ward there. That was clean. And I agree with the game plan here for Guangdong Freaks. You know, the Zeri Lulu lane should be self-sufficient. You got caught by a Thresh hook. That shouldn't happen on the bottom side. But otherwise, you want to play around top side here where the Jace is vulnerable because they opted into the Gragas mid. They got a kill. They got a flash. Nearly a second there on the top side. There was an opportunity there. But the game state is so broken up by this Fed Aphelios. And they grabbed the first Drake as well, Mountain Drake.
Okay, Youngjae in position, but Faker is coming down here as well, level 6. As he opts not to go for it, actually. And Oner is going to show himself.
And he forgot. He's like, oh yeah, Bulldog is the guy who just pushes mid hard, doesn't he? Isn't he? He doesn't ever come down.
Yeah.
He's the ghost victor, right? And Bulldog is just going to push this. So Faker decides, all right, I think you guys just don't overextend here. Oner is going to cover the push. And now actually rotate up to look for a gank on the Bulldog.
Oh, Bulldog.
Good dodge.
Yeah, very nice dodge. He stopped there for a moment and got in range of a cask play, but Faker wanted to get the body slam first with the rotation. Not able to happen, so Bulldog is totally safe.
That's pretty huge. Doesn't have to flash. And this game is going to slow down again for a moment, but T1 absolutely, if they would like to, have the ability to group up for this Herald with the power that Guma has this early in the game and the Zeri that has no power in this game and will not for a very long time. And they could just choose to keep the Aphelios bottom and kind of slow this Drake down, or the Herald, excuse me, down if they want to. And this is what's so frustrating because we haven't talked about this in a long time, but Aphelios can shred plates so quickly if left alone in the lane. So Zeri is kind of forced to be down there. And if he leaves, you know, if he pushes a wave through and leaves and T1 go over to the Herald late, you have to be like, okay, is he going to the Herald? Is he coming back to lane? It's very awkward here for Guangdong Freaks.
Yeah. Also, at the same time, Keria's kind of been on the roam, so a very annoying lane state here on the bottom side for the Guangdong one, as he's going to hit another hook within the minions. Does not matter. June, he has no flash, actually. Was about 2 seconds away. And even if he did flash, I'm not even sure. That's a third kill here for Guma, as not going to hit this hook, but he's got Elise in, who's got a kick. So that is an easy one. Oner, he says, I'll take this one this time. As meanwhile, Crescendo on the bottom side, Wolf.
Yeah,
where have we seen this before?
Yeah, Crescendo, he had it prepped too for this. Like, he has it prepped. He has the gank set up here for Oner. They see an opportunity earlier, and this is the best way to give a Herald. As T1, yeah, you give this one over to Youngjae, but he doesn't have a great lane to drop this in outside of top, perhaps, and the bottom side is completely cracked open. And the cool thing about this positioning here from Keria, too, is he knows that Taeyun has flash down, but he's actually looking for June, who's lost his earlier. And the way he plays this and sells the idea that he's going to hook the Zeri and then goes for the Lulu through the minion wave is so crazy. We'll watch it in the replay in a moment, as we're not done up here.
He doesn't have his... Okay, he's actually going to go in on to Oner here. That's a lot of damage with the ult as well. Oner just going to flash away. Q dodged by Youngjae's flash, as the damage coming out from Zeus is a huge amount. Flash in, gets the last auto. And now Dudu here with flash of his own and a couple of dashes. He should be okay. But, well, a little bit too deep when they're behind.
So that's where you could probably drop the Herald. Unfortunately, not anymore. And I think that's the idea here, is try to push up, set up for a gank, push Oner away.
Guma has Bloodthirster.
Watch this angle from Keria, man. Look at the positioning of the Zeri runs down, because Zeri doesn't have minions to defend her. So she actually kites back, and then he goes in for the hook between the minions. Then sets up this Lantern, by the way, for Oner to come in here even faster. Pushes him away from the turret, and the kick is clean. So, oh, well played. And here you're like, all right, well, if we set up top side, we should be able to Herald drop this. You know, the wave is pushing, you have the Renekton, but this ends up being a stay
Dominus
too long.
in the top lane. Zeus is backing away from this one. This is happening in live. Doesn't amount to too much.
Yeah. Zeus gonna grab that kill, and in live, there's no Sejuani up your top side, so even though you ult this and push Zeus out, he has TP, so where's your Herald value? Unfortunately, you were trying to set up on the previous play we just watched in the replay, and now, you know, you got this Herald, but you lost everything bottom, and you don't have anywhere to put it, unfortunately. Not at this moment in time. Could try to drop it mid, but it's not the place you want to snowball right now.
Well, it's Infernal Drake. I'm not sure if these Drakes are going to matter too much, as tons of damage coming out. Nice dodge on the Shock Blast. Here comes Youngjae. Dudu, no Dominus, but he does have Flash. Throws it straight into Zeus, who does not have Flash of his own. Dudu just playing it safe, waiting for the stun angle, as here's Taeyun. Comes in, picks up a kill against double buff. Okay.
And this is going to be first turret going over to T1 at the same time, but this is a really cool way to lane swap your Zeri out of the bottom side, which is completely doomed. Set it up with a gank. Their top side play has been really creative here. They will get these plates as well with the Herald crashing through. Still trading down here as Guangdong Freaks, but I think this is the best move you can make right now. The fact that Jace is vulnerable here, you know he doesn't have flash. You can push up topside with your Zeri, set up for that kill and Herald drop, while just conceding the point here on that bottom turret. Let Dudu come down and farm freely here to catch those waves.
Oh, wow.
And
it's Hextech Rift after it started Mountain Infernal.
Yeah, that's, I mean, this is the unluckiest scenario ever.
Oh, poor man.
But this is how you play this, right? You use this gank to get the Zeri in a lane where she could farm and, you know, try to get her some gold, put these plates into her pocket. She can go down mid, get some additional money. As Guma is actually going to match that top side here for a little while and just try to push her out, which the biggest loser of all this awkwardly is kind of the victor, who's like, where's my money? You know, I would like to get some money. I would like to be safe. I would like to have some opportunities.
Well, he's going to flash that cast. Looks almost like he got hit and then he flashed, but very frame perfect there from Bulldog. He will stay safe, but has to use his flash. As, yeah, I mean, Guma can kind of just follow this area around the map. Was like a nice little momentary swap, but I think now that Guma can just stay up here. Look at him. He's got a BT and another BF sword, like a finished call. Zeri doesn't even have an item yet. He's like only halfway, too.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
The shield bow is not even a spike for him either, you know? I mean, when he gets to the shield bow, he's going to be like, well, I don't die as easily. Okay.
Okay, well, there's no cast, but does not matter as Bulldog does not have flash, so Faker easily able to set that one up, and Oner will collect.
Dodge the last body slam, not going to dodge this one. And Lee Sin has great gank assist with that. If you can hit it, just guaranteed Sonic Wave.
Well, Keria just missed a hook.
I feel like he's missing some on purpose. Like the one we saw topside a moment ago.
He's going for the 500 IQ hooks, you know? Like not the straight up ones. He's trying to look a little cool after his first couple that were very strong and very impressive. Trying to outdo himself.
Yeah. You know, I mean, if he gets the predict on a flash or something, he's going to look really cool. If he misses, do you really care that much at this point? Are you really that concerned?
Yeah, at some point, you kind of just give them the benefit of the doubt, you know? If this was a player that hadn't played a lot of Thresh and we saw a couple of hooks like that, we'd be like, well, maybe he shouldn't play Thresh. But because it is Keria.
Yeah, and also if his 80 carry wasn't 3-0 on one of the finish call because of him, you know, we'd be like, I'm not so sure, but I'm pretty sure we know now is the gravity field is dropped and Faker's like, yep, gonna chug and slam.
Max range.
Max range. That was so well played.
Bulldog could have potentially had better spacing, but you also can't just sit there and not do anything into the Crocus, as this is just not fair, but we usually pull up this item build and gold difference graph when there is a big difference in the game.
Yeah, it's rare that we see that, but it's usually a tragedy.
Oh, well, Faker's got a flash this time, and Bulldog does not, so he's just going to sit here outside of the gravity field, and that will be the end of the Victor again, as an exasperated look on Bulldog's face rings true.
This is a player that Bulldog spent his formative years watching and looking up to and aspiring to be. He's just walking at him, buffers the body slam with flash, holds cask until after the gravity field and just instantly deletes him. Nicely Andres, bro, you know, and that's going to be another turret here. And T1, well, they're looking for a dancing herald practically at this point with the lead they have.
Yeah, kind of looks like that game you guys casted yesterday in Challengers, but not quite as one-sided, I suppose.
Yeah, not quite, but very close to at this point. Referring to Game 3 of Breon D+ LCK Challengers yesterday.
You guys should watch LCK Challengers. We have a lot of fun over there. We also talk to chat.
We really do.
So definitely join us there. We'll watch this play. Yep. He has flash and Bulldog doesn't, so even Bulldog knows, right? He's just running away, but you can't get away.
Not gonna happen. Got him. You can go mid, push mid. And yeah, that was pretty basic. I mean, the flash timing on the body slam was pretty clean. But that's pretty standard Gragas play. Faker makes the most basic look cool, though, doesn't he?
He does. That is true. Gragas mid is so interesting because he has such great sustain, and he's, you know, pretty passively tanky to the point where, compared to some other melee mids, you're gonna have a safe laning phase, and then he's such a playmaker, you know? And if you actually go AP on him, it kind of felt uncomfortable to go AP on him in the top lane because some of those matchups weren't as good for him.
Yeah, there's some all-ins.
Going AP, you know, against a Renekton or something like that. As, oh no, June. Not quite enough damage. But yeah, in the mid lane, it feels a lot more natural, you know? Yeah,
it certainly does. You know, against a Victor, you feel way more comfortable doing this than you would against the Renekton, right? And they wanted a little bit more magic damage in this composition because they have the double core drinker set up here. And it is core drinker for Zeus. We talked about how it might not be in this composition, but it's kind of a better safe than Saria, I guess, angle here this time around.
He fell behind, you know, he didn't get the Eclipse. He wouldn't have been able to get the Eclipse super early, so I think, you know, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think given the lane state, oh man.
Oh boy. Well, that's Renekton as Keria just hooking the barrel. As he really is going for the TikTok highlights now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe expecting Faker to pull him into his barrel with the cask, but the cask was slightly off. It's understandable.
It was still a really good play and a nice attempt there. It's very difficult to pick the Renekton, unfortunately, so he will trade ultimates, let's say. And now Quantum Freak's grouping up here. around the top side of the map, trying to set up some vision preemptively, because I know T1 are looking to do that 20-minute Baron.
Yeah. They're like early. They're like, can we do it now? No.
Not yet.
Yeah. Hextech Gate's going to make this comp even more oppressive. So many playmakers on the side of T1's comp, even the Aphelios can find angles, so really have to play it safe if you are Kwangdong here.
Setting traps like this, certainly can work, especially because it is the non-tank variant here of the Gragas, but Oner is just walking alongside. We call this shadowing. Whatever solo laner is pushed up the furthest at this moment in time, because they have so much CC. Like, Faker can set up a kill with him in a 2v2 easily. So Youngjae, is he setting the trap, or is he actually the one who's about to be trapped, is the question. And Faker's trying to sell this so hard, too. They have a ward, now it's cleared. And Youngjae, I mean, you're not getting anything out of this one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting some XP out of the minions that are dying because his whole jungle was taken. Like, the top side of the jungle was taken, and then T1 rotated to the bottom side of the jungle, so actually Youngjae does not get to farm anymore.
Yeah, look at how they just push the Gragas into mid the second that's all taken,
yeah.
And then Oner can now shadow Zeus while taking all the farm.
Oner just took every single camp.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Zeus is now protected too and can push this all the way up to inhibitor. And they spent those 2 minutes that we just talked about pre-Baron taking all the jungle and setting up vision along the way. So there's a line of vision across the jungle here for Kwangdong Freaks that they have to cross in order to come over here and look to contest vision. And T1 can take this like literally on spawn. Look at Zeus, he has TP, but he's already kind of walking up here. And I mean, T1 are like, if you come towards us, we will obliterate you in these choke points in a team fight. Guma's ult's back up. If you don't come, we will take the Baron. And this is kind of a macro checkmate here. And there's just no options for Kwangdong Freaks at all.
Yep. Something that T1 does commonly is here's the TP. Zeus looks like he went back, got his mana immune, which is about to be Muramana. Very good timing for this, as he can just use a couple here in mid and try to stack that one up, and then they can start the Baron.
One more Q onto anybody, and that is stacked. As they're just going to start the Baron. Renekton walked over a ward.
2 Cs, Wolf.
Yeah.
2 Cs.
2 Cs.
This is already dead as the hook comes in, and Youngjae just can't get in either. As Wild Growth, that is a big piggy, but is it going to matter as T1 kind of just smacking them with their wallets right now. T1 casped in, is going to have to flash away as down goes the Lulu, and the chase continues. Bulldog nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And guys, I think this might just be the end of the game. T1's just going to take Baron, ace them, and push mid and end it.
And I don't think you can team fight this way, where you split like this as T1 if Zeri has items, but we're 21 minutes into the game. She doesn't have items, she doesn't have power, and you can win both sides of this fight. You force the Wild Growth to be used not on the Renekton, but onto the Sejuani with a pick that prevents a 50-50 split of the Baron. And I mean, I don't know if there was a better way to play this by T1. I don't know if there was.
Okay, well, that was a game of League of Legends that just happened. 21.5 minutes, T1 just bopped him on the head.